Let us start. So, the topic of today's discussion is hegemonic and new imperial design of sanctions, an instrument of unipolar dominance. And this topic is, I think, a continuation of our previous discussion, in which we have discussed about the sanction, a working paper written by former governor of Reserve Bank of India, Urjit Patel, right? And that paper was, of course, discussed by us in a very, we can say, a fantastic way, and it was very thoughtful discussion. I think it went for 2 hours, and then there was a consensus between us that there must be a further discussion on this topic in much broader way, and that is why I have or we have designed this topic in discussion with Anil sir. And I have also circulated an article written by a Russian professor, associate professor in political science, Ivan Timofeyev, and the paper of his title is Sanctions Policy, Unipolar or Multipolar World. So this paper is actually supporting the trend we have observed in our discussion, right? And the topic of paper itself suggests that the sanction policy unipolar or multipolar world. And when I will read the abstract of this paper, because this abstract is enshrining all the elements discussed in the paper in itself. So I will read out the abstract of this paper first. So this abstract goes in this way. Abstract: this article examines the origin of United States supremacy in the using economic sanctions in a broader discussion about the structure of contemporary world order following the Cold War. राइट तो कोल्ड वार के बाद का जो सैंक्शन का रिजीम है, इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शंस का, उसको ये पेपर डिस्कस करने का प्रयास कर रहा है. एंड हाउ आफ्टर द कोल्ड वर्ल्ड वार यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स सुपरमेसी by using economic sanctions was established, right? So sanctions, this abstract further says, the sanctions are understood as instrument of power relations. We can note that the sanctions are understood as an instrument of power relations and means of forcing target countries to fulfill the requirement of senders countries. And this same definition, or almost same definition, has been discussed by the Urjit Patel in his working paper also, right? So sanction must be understood as an instrument of power relations. The experience of deploying sanctions suggests that from the point of view of economic power, the world today retains the signs of unipolarity, right? So he is arguing in this abstract paper that the experience of deploying sanctions suggests that from the point of view of economic power, the world today retains the sign of unipolarity, while a polycentric world order is just one of the possible options for the future. This is the very, you can say, futuristic and big claim also, which has been discussed in the paper, right? So he is saying that the key research question is, why does United States continue to have significant leverage in implementing the sanctions despite the growing capabilities of the other actors? What other actor means other countries, powerful countries, economic powers, right? So in addition to US dominance in the global financial system, two other factors are highlighted, and he is saying that there are two factors, because of them United States of America is hegemonic and he is using economic sanction. And that first is the relative weakness of United Nations as a key global governance institution. So he is giving the first reason as the weakness of United Nations as a key global governance institution. While United Nations is the only legitimate source of sanctions, it has far fewer institutional capabilities to run a sanctioned policies than the United States of America. And this has been argued थ्रू आउट द पेपर, राइट, दैट कि कैसे यूनाइटेड नेशंस कमजोर है जबकि वो लेजिटिमेट सोर्स है सैंक्शन का, लेकिन वो ये काम नहीं करता बल्कि यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका इस काम को करता है और कैसे करता है. एट द सेम टाइम the United States and other Western powers successfully use the United Nations to increase the legitimacy of unilateral measures or play an active role in United Nations Security Council, striving to legitimize their programs and then supplementing them with their own unilateral measures. And the second factor, this was the first factor given by the author. And the second factor is the difference in the perception of sanctions by the national governments and private companies. जो कि अभी सुनील सर कह रहे थे एनजीओ के बारे में, सिविल सोसाइटीज के बारे में, वही पॉइंट यहाँ हाईलाइट किया गया है कि क्या परसेप्शन है सैंक्शन के बारे में. तो जो गवर्नमेंट्स हैं और जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर, उसमें बाइफर्केशन यहाँ दिखाया गया है कि कैसे जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर है उस सैंक्शन को लेजिटिमेट मानता है. तो यहाँ कह रहा है ऑथर, while the national governments often criticize the unilateral sanctions, private businesses tend to comply or over comply with United States measures, means sanction measures, even when the national government tries to protect them. कहने का मतलब है कि अगर नेशनल गवर्नमेंट उनको प्रोटेक्ट भी करने का कोशिश करता है प्राइवेट बिजनेसेस को, तब भी उस केस में वो यूनाइटेड नेशंस के सैंक्शन को फॉलो करना ज्यादा पसंद करते हैं कंपेयर टू अपने नेशनल गवर्नमेंट. एज अ रिजल्ट इवन द मोस्ट पोटेंट इकोनॉमिक एक्टर्स, और मोस्ट पोटेंट इकोनॉमिक एक्टर्स क्या है, चाइना है, रशिया है, इंडिया है और बाकी जो भी कंट्री इमर्ज हो रहा है, कैनॉट कन्वर्ट देयर इकोनॉमिक पावर्स into the political powers to counterbalance the United States, right? The question of how long the United States will be able to maintain its supremacy and how effective the sanctions will be is the focus of future research, right? This is the abstract, and I think in the abstract the key ideas of the paper has been presented. Okay, so I will now I will focus on the key discussion in this paper, and that is that start with the key question by the author. And the key question is that can the modern world be considered unipolar, or it has long since been multipolar or polycentric? With this question the author starts the introduction of the paper, right? So this question also have a normative side. तो ऑथर ये कहता है कि पेपर केवल यही एनालाइज नहीं करता बल्कि नॉर्मेटिव साइड को भी वो करता है कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ वर्ल्ड, यूनिपोलर और मल्टीपोलर, इज मोर डिजायरेबल और स्टेबल. एंड ही सेज पावर हियर, मतलब इसका ये पूरे इंट्रोडक्शन में आप देखें तो ये बात कहता है कि यूनिपोलर वर्ल्ड होगा या सैंक्शन किसके द्वारा यूज किया जाएगा, इट होली डिपेंड्स अपॉन द पावर. And he had defined power here, and power here can be understood in the Weberian sense. Max Weber, he is referring Max Weber, that is as ability of subject A. तो क्या है पावर? पावर को कहता है कि ये एबिलिटी है, as ability of subject A to impose its will on subject B and receive the obedience of the latter for one reason or another. Weber 2016, page number 252. He has referred to Max Weber, right? The second point is that no other global player could have anything like potential the United States has to use its coercive power when game's rules has been broken. तो फिर रेफर करते हुए होल फोर्थ को रेफर करता है और कह रहा है कि इस तरह का जो पावर है, ये थोपने वाली जो पावर है कि सब्जेक्ट ए अपना विल जो है सब्जेक्ट बी पर थोप सके, ऐसा पावर यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के अलावे अभी भी किसी के पास नहीं है. Then he argues the modern world is so complex that the military might lost its role as a key measure of power, and here he is showing the contradiction. And what is the contradiction? Contradiction ये है कि ये जरूरी नहीं है कि आपके पास मिलिट्री पावर अगर हो केवल तो उसी से आप सैंक्शन का उद्देश्य पूरा कर लें. So he is giving the example, and example is it is one thing to use military force to occupy Afghanistan, but it is a different thing entirely to win the war in that country. Like the world, the criteria for victory and defeat have become more complicated. So he is saying that कि सैंक्शन अगर किसी भी पावर के टारगेट को अचीव करने के लिए किया जा रहा है, तो ये जरूरी नहीं है कि उससे वो पर्पज आप पूरा ही कर पाए. And now he is highlighting the weaknesses of different ideas, or you can say narrative about the world order. So he is saying, however, liberals avoided the understanding economics in term of power. So what he is arguing is that the economic power has been used as political power and as a power to achieve the पॉलिटिकल ऑब्जेक्टिव और डिप्लोमेटिक ऑब्जेक्टिव. एंड ये बात जो है उर्जित पटेल के पेपर में भी कहा गया है कि जो ये इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शंस है, दीज इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शंस आर नॉट यूज्ड फॉर द इकोनॉमिक गेन और इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट, रादर इट इज अ मीन टू अचीव द डिप्लोमेटिक गोल ऑफ particular country, especially United States of America. So he is arguing that as a result, economic means to achieve goals related exclusively to power, resorting to coercion to effect change or maintain a particular political course, did not factor into the overall theory. तो यहाँ पर वो लिबरल जो थियरी है उसको क्रिटिसाइज कर रहा है और कह रहा है कि जो लिबरल थियरी है वो इकोनॉमिक पावर को एक कोएर्सिव टूल के रूप में कभी एनालाइज ही नहीं किया. ये बहुत बड़ी एक कमी रही है. एंड देन अगेन he is also criticizing, or you can say polemically looking at the neo-Marxist world system theory, and he is saying that the neo-Marxist world system theory did not solve the problem either, as it focused on understanding why hegemony is possible and why hegemony eventually come to an end. And he referred Wallerstein 2001. So he is saying that कि इकोनॉमिक जो सैंक्शन है उसको पॉलिटिकल टूल के रूप में सफिशिएंटली जो है एनालाइज नहीं किया गया. सो ही इज फर्दर सेइंग दैट द सो कॉल्ड सैंक्शंस, एंड व्हाट इज सो कॉल्ड सैंक्शंस, trade and financial sanctions and other restrictions that are used as a way to coerce individual state, which is target countries, to fulfill the political requirement of the sender countries. तो यहाँ टारगेट कंट्री कौन है जिस पर सैंक्शन लगाया जाता है, और जो सेंडर कंट्री वो है जो सैंक्शन लगाता है. सो and these so-called sanctions act as the key practical embodiments of economic power today. Much has been written about the issue of sanctions. So meanwhile, the experience of using sanctions provide us with a critical analytical lens for understanding international relations, presenting them from different perspectives. So now the next point he is saying is about the main research question is, why does United States continue to have significant margin of influence in use of economic sanctions despite the power of other players? And this question has been also raised in the abstract. So he is saying that there are two reasons. So main research question, why does United States continue to have a significant margin of influence in use of economic sanctions despite the powers of other players? So first explains the leadership of United States and the West through the United Nations insufficiently strong and autonomous role as only legitimate source of international sanctions. So he is saying that the leadership role of United Nations is very weak and they are not autonomously working, and that is why United States of America and West are using forum of United Nations for the sanctions. The second hypothesis highlights how the strategies of government structures and their visions of sanctions differ from those of private business. The difference in government and the business approaches in current environment cements the leadership of the United States of America in this area। तो ये कह रहा है कि जो गवर्नमेंट का अप्रोच है, जो नेशनल गवर्नमेंट्स है, उनका अप्रोच जो है सैंक्शन के प्रति, और जो प्राइवेट बिजनेस का अप्रोच है, ये दोनों अलग अलग है। और प्राइवेट बिजनेस जो है वो यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स के सैंक्शन को सपोर्ट करता है, और इस वजह से बड़े लेवल पर एक तो ये कारण है कि यूनाइटेड नेशंस कमजोर है, उसका लीडरशिप कमजोर है, और दूसरी ये बात कि जो भी नेशनल गवर्नमेंट्स है वहां का बिजनेस क्लास जो है वो अमेरिका को सपोर्ट करता है। दैट इज व्हाई द लीडरशिप ऑफ द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका इन दिस एरिया हैज बीन सीमेंटेड। एक तो ये आर्गुमेंट है। दूसरी बात ये कहता है कि सैंक्शन एज एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट ऑफ पावर एंड कोएर्शन। So the seminal work on sanction produced by Hofbauer defines sanctions as international action of a state, collision of a state, and now this definition of sanction has been expanded। अब केवल ये नहीं है कि केवल एक कंट्री होगा, यहाँ पे ऑथर कह रहा है रेफर करते हुए वो बायर को कि ये जो सैंक्शन है, ये सैंक्शन जो है इंटेंशनल एक्शन होता है एक स्टेट का, इंटेंशनल एक्शंस ऑफ अ स्टेट, कोलिजन ऑफ स्टेट्स और इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस टू रिड्यूस, लिमिट और विथड्रॉ फ्रॉम द ट्रेड एंड फिनेंशियल रिलेशंस विद द कंट्री दैट इज द टारगेट ऑफ द सैंक्शंस। तो ये एक स्टेट भी हो सकता है, कोलिजन ऑफ द स्टेट्स भी हो सकता है, या जैसे हम लोग इराक के केस में देखे थे इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस भी हो सकता है, जैसे यूनाइटेड नेशंस करता है सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल के माध्यम से। तो ही इज ऑल्सो ट्राइंग टू discuss about the role of United Nations in the sanction regime. So as a rule, sanctions are an instrument of powerful. So it must be clear. So sanction as a rule, sanctions are an instrument of powerful, advanced and developed states. The ability to use economic power reflects the asymmetric distribution of power in international relation. This quotation, this statement is very very important to understand the so-called equality of sovereign states in international order. So he is saying that this is the instrument of powerful, advanced and developed states, and it reflects the ability to use economic power, and that economic power is asymmetric distribution of power in international relationship. And now he is giving the data by referring Hofbauer et al. United States is responsible for 109 of 174 cases of economic sanctions deployed in 20th century। 174 में 109 के लिए अगर सैंक्शन के लिए हम बोले तो यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका रिस्पॉन्सिबल है। यूनाइटेड किंगडम उसके बाद आता है जो 16 बार सैंक्शन यूज किया, यूरोपियन यूनियन 14 बार, सोवियत यूनियन और रशिया 13 बार। टेलिंगली यूनाइटेड नेशंस डिप्लॉयड सैंक्शन ऑन जस्ट 20 occasions, and it is also very revealing। In this paper, the author has said that यूनाइटेड नेशंस के किसी चार्टर में सैंक्शन की कोई भी प्रोविजन नहीं है। दिस इज वेरी रिवीलिंग। और यूनाइटेड नेशंस की अब अगर हम बात करें कि एक यूनिवर्सल और इंटरनेशनल बॉडी है जो लगभग जिसमें सारे मेंबर्स हैं, अगर उसके पास पावर भी है तो वो सबसे कम का यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स से तो मतलब बहुत ही कम 20 बार केवल अभी तक जो है उसने सैंक्शन का इस्तेमाल किया है। So sanctions should be distinguished from the trade war concept. So it is also important कि trade और tariff को हम sanction ना समझ लें। Of course there has been a relation, but author is distinguishing between the trade war and the sanctions as to differ in their goals and agents. Sanctions are aimed at achieving political goal. So it must be clear कि जो sanctions होता है वो political and diplomatic goals को पूरा करने के लिए होता है। ये वहाँ के सरकार के द्वारा इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, उसका political purpose होता है, जबकि trade war का purpose वहाँ के business या वहाँ के trade या वहाँ का जो business class है उसको, इस पर काफी इसमें चर्चा की गई है कि what is difference between trade war and sanctions, right? So Harry Johnson gifted the world the classic definition of trade war. In his understanding, a trade war is a conflict between two or more states aimed at achieving economic advantages using instrument to limit bilateral trade. Right? So this is just a minute, sir.
भैया ऑप्शन नंबर 2 शूटिंग H2 49 सेकंड फ्लोर दी है।
हाँ
ये सुनीता टोपस
सेकंड फ्लोर तो वही है, उधर कुछ है तुम्हारे साइड का। सॉरी सर, सॉरी सॉरी, कोई दरवाजा मेरा नॉक कर दिया था इस वजह से। सो आई एम जस्ट कंटिन्यूइंग। तो ये हैरी जॉनसन ने जो डेफिनेशन दिया है ट्रेड वॉर का, उसमें वो कहते हैं कि ये टू स्टेट्स के बीच इकोनॉमिक एडवांटेजेस के लिए ये ट्रेड वॉर होता है, जो कि बायलैटरल ट्रेड पर मोस्टली निर्भर करता है। सो कंट्री ट्राइज टू क्रिएट कंडीशंस और इन्वायरमेंट्स इन ट्रेड वॉर्स टू मैक्सिमाइज प्रॉफिट्स। एट द सेम टाइम sanctions introduce bans and restrictions to undermine investor confidence in target economy। तो ये जनरली एकदम इकोनॉमिक नहीं होता है, बट ये ब्रॉडर सेंस में किसी भी इकोनॉमी को मतलब ये क्या कहते हैं मैक्रो लेवल पर डैमेज करने के लिए किया जाता है, जबकि ट्रेड वार का इमीडिएट पर्पज हो सकता है इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट्स। सो द पॉलिटिकल गोल ऑफ सैंक्शन टिपिकली कम डाउन टू 3 कंपोनेंट्स। तो जो पॉलिटिकल गोल होता है सैंक्शन का, वो 3 कंपोनेंट पर आकर के वो होता है, जिसको ये ऑथर कहते हैं कोयर्शन, कंस्ट्रेन एंड सिग्नल, राइट। सो over past 20-25 years we have seen a tendency toward use of smart targeted and surgical sanctions. This is the concept which has been used by Urjit Patel in his paper also, where he is discussing about the smart sanctions. And the attack on Iran by Israel and United States of America is a typical example of smart sanctions, जो कि हम लोग डिस्कस भी कर चुके हैं कि वार ऑफ प्रिसीजन इज बिंग फॉट बाय द पार्टीज। तो ये स्मार्ट सैंक्शन का कंसेप्ट भी इन्होंने वो किया है, और इसको मतलब एक ऑथर हैं ड्रेजनर, उन्होंने कहा है कि ये सैंक्शन पैराडॉक्स है, वेयर सैंक्शंस आर मोर इफेक्टिव अगेंस्ट एलाइज देन दे आर अगेंस्ट द राइवल्स, एंड वी कैन साइड द एग्जांपल ऑफ इंडिया एंड ऑल, कि जिस तरह से सैंक्शन का इस्तेमाल बाकी कंट्रीज के खिलाफ हो रहा है, रसा के खिलाफ हो रहा है, बाकी जो भी उनके आइडियोलॉजिकल होते हैं उनके खिलाफ, कितना वो सक्सेसफुल है, इट इज ऑल्सो अ मैटर ऑफ डिस्कशन। रादर दिस सैंक्शंस आर मोर इफेक्टिव अगेंस्ट द एलाइज, this author or writer Dresner is arguing. So according to research, the most significant factor determining the success of sanctions are severity of cost on target states and stability of coalition of sender countries, including involvement of international institutions. बापट को रेफर करते हुए ये कहते हैं कि ये इसका इफेक्टिवनेस इस बात पर डिपेंड करता है कि जो टारगेट स्टेट है उस पर कितना सीवियर कॉस्ट लगाया जाता है, और जो सेंडर कंट्री है मतलब जो सैंक्शन इम्पोज कर रहा है उनका कोलिजन कितना स्टेबल है, right? So this has been discussed, and now without taking too much time, these are the basic ideas. I will read out the conclusion of this paper, and just I will take 2 or 3 minutes. So conclusion is, after the end of Cold War, the United States managed to maneuver itself in a favorable position for using economic sanction as an instrument of political power. The dominance of United States dollar in the global financial system gives financial authorities far-reaching opportunity to track and influence transactions. And that is why हम लोग जब ब्रिक्स के बारे में डिस्कशन कर रहे थे कि why Trump is very fearful about the alternative currency or de-dollarization of the economies of the BRICS country. That is why he is fearful कि अगर इसका ग्लोबल डोमिनेंस कम हो जाता है डॉलर का तो तुरंत ही एक अल्टरनेटिव इमर्ज हो जाएगा। एंड हाउएवर रिगार्डिंग द इकोनॉमिक पावर, टू मोर ऑब्स्टेकल्स ब्लॉक द मल्टीपोलरिटी ऑफ इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस। फर्स्ट, जो कि हम लोग ऑलरेडी डिस्कस किए, रिलेटिवली वीक एंड लिमिटेड रोल ऑफ यूनाइटेड नेशंस कंपेयर टू दैट ऑफ यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स रिगार्डिंग डिप्लॉइंग सैंक्शंस। And second is loyalty of private business to US law, even when their own governments or international organizations declare their intention to protect business interests. Other actors still cannot convert their economic power into an instrument of political power to same degree that United States can. The big question is, how long Washington maintain its superiority? Several factors may get in its way, including weaponization of dollar, meaning the political manipulation of financial sphere may undermine trust in US currency in long term. Disagreements with allies, the European Union's dissatisfactions with action of United States can lead to Brussels playing a more independent role, especially if Euro becomes stronger, and pressure on major powers such as China and Russia, which may try to initiate change at the very least at the regional level. Moreover, political effectiveness of sanctions in terms of their ability to bring about fundamental political change in target countries is a focus of future research, right? So author is not focusing on that because this is the limitation of this paper. Suppose countries such as Iran and North Korea have maintained their political courses. In that case, deploying sanctions against Russia and China is even less likely to bring about desired political change. So this is the end of this paper. I have just tried to present the key essence of this paper, right? And now we can start our discussion of this paper, or elements or essence of this paper in context of our topic, that is hegemonic and neo imperial design of sanctions, right? So now I will ask everyone. We can start with Vijay sir to say something on this paper or topic. Or anyone can start. Sir, Vijay,
Yeah.
Vijay sir, yeah, please sir.
See, I have gone through the paper. Paper is a bit outdated because from the time that the paper is written to this day, rapid developments are taking place. Number one is that hegemony of Europe and America is a thing of the past. They no longer controlled economically, politically, or otherwise the whole world. Whatever power that they had grabbed in the liberalization period, that has got dissipated. I'll tell you the reasons. Number one is that as a military power, America is no longer an unquestioned supreme military power. In fact, Russia is emerging as more stronger than America militarily, and China is not much behind that. So, military supremacy is lost. It no longer exists. Second is sanctions. These kind of sanctions have become a joke because with liberalization, manufacturing has got dissipated. Many countries in the world today are able to produce world-class products. Vietnam, Brazil, China. So you can see that American technical supremacy is gone. Europe is no longer, in the last 6 months,